Good evening. This is CTV News for October 15th. I'm Patricia Valone.
And I'm Danielle Irby. Thanks for joining us. A woman is dead and a man is injured after a hit and run in Temple Hills last night. Keisha Butts has the details.
Police are investigating a hit and run that killed one person and injured another at St. Barnabas and Raleigh roads around 11 p.m. Monday night. Officers say a man and a woman were both crossing St. Barnabas Road when they were struck by an SUV. When cops arrived, they found the woman in critical condition and the man was suffering from non-life-threatening injuries. Both were taken to the hospital where the woman died. The victim's name was Laurel Grier. She was 54 years old from Suitland. A preliminary investigation reveals both pedestrians were not in the crosswalk at the time of the incident. The police are still searching for the SUV. They say it is dark colored and it might have front end damage. This is the third fatal hit and run in less than a week. There were two separate ones last week in Brandywine. In the newsroom, Keisha Butts, CTV News.
And police say the SUV model could possibly be a GMC. If you have any information, you're asked to call 1-866-411-TIPS.
In national news, the interim police chief of the Fort Worth Police Department in Texas says he's sorry for the loss of a woman killed by an officer. Tatiana Jefferson, 28 years old, was killed by Officer Aaron Dean in her bedroom early Saturday morning. Police were responding to a concerned neighbor's call who saw that Jefferson's house door was left open. Body camera footage reveals the officer walking around the house, shouting at Jefferson to put her hands up through a window and then firing a fatal shot. Jefferson was babysitting her nephew and playing video games at the time of the incident. Interim Police Chief Ed Cross held an emotional press conference this morning, saying he is deeply sorry for what happened.
There's absolutely no excuse for this incident, and the person responsible will be held accountable. Ms. Jefferson's family and our community will have the last word, and the courts will speak on her behalf. Each and every one of you have our support and our commitment to serve you better. We strive to be better every day than we were the day before. My prayer for Tatiana's family, our community, and our department.
The officer, Aaron Dean, was charged with murder and has been released on bail.
A state work group tasked with determining a funding formula for education reform makes its final recommendations today. Called the Blueprint for Maryland's Future Funding, the group voted in favor of a proposal that will help determine how state and local governments divvy up nearly $4 billion in costs over at least a decade.
I am extremely pleased by the recommendations that we are about to vote on. They are completely aligned with the goals and priorities of the Commission. They take a major and critically important step toward addressing the funding inequities presently existing in our state based on income, race, and ethnicity.
The ripple effects of other bargaining units, both within and outside the school system, does not seem to be reflected. These are real consequences of such bold salary actions, and if not incorporated properly into the state's formulas, the unanticipated costs could be fully borne by county budgets.
Well, it means that the state will be updating what has historically been called the Thornton formula, which was passed in 2002. This will update it largely to expand in major areas like teacher compensation, pre-K education, and requiring those targeted programs to also be shared by the county in terms of cost. It increases substantially money coming from the state to Prince George's County.
The recommendations, which now go before the General Assembly, do not tell lawmakers or local governments how to fund anticipated increases. Meantime, Governor Hogan, who has voiced his discontent at the work group, says the plan will ultimately require tax increases.
Well, it's been 17 years since two snipers took the lives of 10 people in the D.C. region. Now the Supreme Court is reviewing the sentence of Lee Boyd Malvo. He was 17 years old at the time of the attacks in October of 2002. Malvo is now 34 years old, and the High Court will hear oral arguments on whether to uphold Virginia's life sentence without parole. They will determine if the crimes committed when he was a minor violate the 8th Amendment. Arguments are expected to begin this Wednesday.